Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will talk about something really simple but super important in Go, constants. So in this slide, in a Go, constant is a fixed value that cannot be changed during the execution of the program. Constant are declared and using the const keyword are evaluated at the compile time. So let's break this down. Imagine you are filling out a government form. Your date of birth never changes, right? Once it is written, that's it. In programming, constant work the same way. It's a value you set once, then it says the same throughout the program. So when runs your program, it knows this value will not change. It can lock it in. This is what we mean by evaluated at the compile time. That just means go set the value before your program actually start running. Now why this is useful? So let's say you are writing a program that calculates the GST and the GST rate like 80% usually stays the same. So instead of writing 18 in a different places, you can just declare the constant called the GST rate. That way your code is cleaner and safer. And you will not actually change it somewhere and mess up your whole calculation. So also using the constant make your code easier to read and maintain, especially if you are working in a team or applying for the jobs where the clean code is expected. Okay, now let's look at the syntax, how we actually write a constant in a Go. So this slide shows the constant identifier type equals to value. So let's break it down nice and easy. So first we have the keyword constant. This tells the Go, hey, I am declaring the constant here. This value should never change. Next is the identifier. That just means that name you want to give your constant like a GST rate, PI, or maybe maximum users. Then comes the type like integer, float 64 or string. It tells the Go what kind of a data this is. So if your constant is number, you might write integer, or for a decimal value like a 3.14 you had go with a float 64, and finally the value that's a fixed value you want to assign. For example, constant pi float 64 equals to 3.14. So the fully line basically means create the constant called the pi, which is a float 64 and its value is 3.14. So now here's something useful. Go is a smart. If you skip the type, it can actually figuring out from the value. But for the beginners, I recommend including the type in the beginning. It makes your code clearer and help avoid the confusion. So in real world coding, this syntax is super helpful when you want to define the rules that don't change. So yeah, simple, clean, and really useful once you get used to it. Okay, so now let's talk about something really cool in the Go, implicit typing for the constant. So here we are creating the constant just like a before, but we did not mention the type, no float 64, nothing. So how does Go know what the type it is? Well, there is a catch where the Go is smart. So it's look at the value 3.14159 and says this looks like a decimal number, so I will treat it as a float 64. This is called the type inference. So you can skip the writing the type and Go will still understand what you mean as long as the value make it obvious. So when you writing the short and simple code, maybe for the practice or quick tools, skipping the type make your code cleaner and easier to read. So yeah, implicit typing makes the life easier and it keeps your code neat when used properly. So all right, now let's see how we can declare the multiple constant together in a Go. So here what the slide shows. So instead of writing the constant again and again like this, you can give us cleaner way. We can group the constant into block using the parenthesis, and inside the block we list all our constant one by one. So here we have got a, b, and c that holds the value 1, 2, and 3. This look neater and it is especially useful when you are defining the bunch of related constant. For example, error codes, user rules, day of the weeks, whatever. Let me give you the quick real world idea. Imagine you are working on the app that deals with the order statuses like pending equals to 0, approve equals to 1, and cancel equals to 2. Instead of scattering them all over the places, you can group them using the constant block that makes the code organized and easier to read, especially when someone else joined the team later. Also, fewer chances of a making mistake. You can see all the values in one places. So now let's talk about something very basic but super important, the difference between the constant and variable. Whether you are coding your first Go program or sitting in a job interview, someone definitely going to ask this, what's the difference between the constant and variable? Let's walk through this table and understand it one row at a time. First aspect, mutability. So here's the main difference. Constant are immutable. Now, let's talk about something very basic but super important, the difference between the constant and variable. Whether you are coding your first Go program or sitting in the job interview, someone definitely going to ask this, what's the difference between the constant and variable? So let's walk through this table and understand it one row at a time. So first aspect is mutability. So here's the main difference. Constant are immutable. That means once you give them value, you cannot change it later. It's a fix. Think of it like your other number. Once assigned, it never changes. On the other hand, variables are mutable, which means you can change their value anytime in your program. Like your bank account balance, it keeps updating. Second aspect is declaration. So constant are declared using the constant keyword. So the moment you see constant, your brain should say, okay, this is a fixed, unchangeable. On the other hand, variables can be declared in two ways using where or the shorthand syntax. That shorthand is very popular in Go, especially when you write the last code and still be clear. Third aspect is evaluation time. So this one little technical but very useful to know. Constant are evaluated at a compile time. That means when your program is getting converted to the machine code, the value is already locked in. So it's like a printing a prints on product before it hits the shelf and fix done or no changes. So but variables are evaluated at a runtime, which means the value can be decided when the program is running. So that's great for the anything dynamic like user input, API response, or changing the scores in a game. All right, let's take a quick look at how you can declare the constants in a Go, and these tables makes it super easy to understand. So first, what's a constant? Well, a constant is just a value that doesn't change, like your date of birth. No matter how many times you run your own program, it stays the same. Now let's go row by row. Form single syntax constant name equals to value. So this is the simplest way. You are just saying that, hey Go, here's a constant with this value. Think of it like a declaring the constant pi equals to 3.14, quick and straightforward. Now second type is form type. So syntax constant name type equals to value. So here you are telling Go exactly what the type is. Like constant vi float 64 equals to 3.40. This is helpful when you want to go to stick to a specific type and avoid the surprises later. It gives you more control, especially in the large code bases. Form group. So syntax constant name 1 equals to value, name 2 equals to value. Now this one very useful when you got a multiple constant to declare at once. Instead of writing them one by one, you can group them together. It keeps your code neat, especially in the cases like defining the list of error codes, roles, or direction. So this is how it is useful. So in actual coding, like when you are writing the configuration value, defining the limits, or working with the fix option, constant helps keep things clean and safe. And choosing the right from the just make sure that your code easier to manage and understand.